Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pac Rosa podcast. And this week we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. And as we walk toward their off season, we are going to talk about the Bills draft that they just had. And in my opinion, this draft was about the future and not really about the actual present right now. Obviously, going into the draft, there was a lot of talk about the Bills trading for a quarterback. They originally had the 21st and 22nd pick, but then they traded the 21st to the Bengals. In a trade with the Bengals and Cordy Glenn, they got the Bengals' 12th pick, and that's how they got the ball rolling on that about really looking for their quarterback of the future. And draft day arrived, and that was really what all the talk was about during that day one of the draft. That when and where are the Bills going to be drafting? Some people thought they could be drafting as high as the number two pick, or even they could get number one. So we just didn't know where they land. So eventually, uh, they landed Josh Allen. They traded the number 12 pick, the number 53 and 56 pick to the Buccaneers to get their seventh pick in the draft, and there they drafted Josh Allen. And I know a lot of people that day wanted Josh Rosen, who many considered to be the more pro-ready quarterback in the draft. But in my opinion, I think the Bills got the right quarterback for their team. And how do I know this? I've been watching his highlights, and he has a strong arm. He's tall and athletic, and his arm is one of the best I've seen from a Bills quarterback in a long time. I mean, we'll see where he goes as we go into training camp in about a month, but he looks really good, and he can extend plays with his legs, which is what Tyrod Taylor did. So that should be nothing new for the Bills, and really that's what I'd like in a quarterback, is a quarterback that can extend plays and make and throw downfield, which he will do, and he'll put the ball in places that you wouldn't think of fitting. So, what do I expect from him? I expect this year to be a redshirt year. Now, will he get into some games? I think he will. It really depends on how good A.J. McCarron or Nathan Peterman plays. It really there is it, there's there's obviously a quarterback competition going on. We will see in the preseason games just how good uh, Josh Allen is, and just how good Nathan Peterman and AJ McCarron is, and that's how this competition will be won. Do I see a situation where Josh Allen could start opening day? Yes, I do, if he lights it out, but I just don't see Sean McDermott uh, starting him from day one. But if the Bills struggle this year, which they might, I don't see it, but if they might, if they start slow, then I do see them switching to their number one pick. So that's what I'm expecting from him. So the Bills had two picks in that round. They obviously had the 22nd pick, and they eventually traded that to the Baltimore Ravens to get probably one of the best linebackers in the draft, which is Tremaine Edmonds out of Virginia Tech. And this is a pick that I really wanted the Bills to make. He is a really good linebacker. And Sean McDermott had Luke Kuechly in Carolina, and I think he has his Luke Kuechly in 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 Buffalo now, and he he has prototypical size for an outside linebacker, with broad shoulders and long arms, and he shoots his gun and trusts his eyes in attacking the defense. So he could be a really good inside linebacker, which is what the Bills really need after the loss of Preston Brown in the offseason. And he could be better than Preston Brown. He could be one of the better linebackers in the league. And during minicamp, he never left that spot. He never left his middle linebacker spot. So you can expect Jermaine Edmonds to be starting week 1 for the Bills. And he could be up for defensive rookie of the year. So that's what I really expect from Jermaine Edmonds this season. So the next pick that the Bills had was Harrison Phillips. He was picked in the 3rd round of the 2018 NFL draft. And this is a guy that I see replacing Kyle Williams in a year. I think this is Kyle Williams last year as a Buffalo Bill. I just see it. I think he's still very good, but I do see some wear and tear on him. But he's a good leader, and I think he'll have a really good season this year. But Harrison Phillips, he has a great power and great balance, and he's very competitive. He'll blow you over, and he'll really push that defensive line. And the Bills really focused on that, their defensive line this offseason, with Star Lotulelei and Trent Murphy joining the team. And I think this made the defensive group really better, and for his rookie season could rotate with Kyle Williams and Star Lotulelei and really give the Bills a good defensive front in the middle of that defensive line. So I really like this pick, and really they got him in the 3rd round. He could have went in the 1st and 2nd round, so the Bills got a steal there, which is always a good thing. So in the 4th round, the Bills got really in the 4th and 5th round, the Bills got 2 cornerbacks. The first cornerback they got was Taron Johnson, and he's a good cornerback. He could work in the nickel. I think that's where the Bills want him as, and that's where he was in minicamp this year. So I see both of these cornerbacks making the team because the Bills really need depth at their secondary position. Their secondary is really good. I think and that was the key with the Bills making the playoffs last season. But definitely depth is a concern. I think they got that in the draft. They could have gotten receivers, but they got cornerbacks instead. So, he has really good cover skills. And he's really quick on the ball, and I think he could be a really good nickel cornerback. And now in the 5th round, they had 2 picks, and they got Serene Neal, and he has a long strider, and it really picks up speed with the receivers. He's very physical, and this could be another cornerback the Bills need, especially if obviously Tre'Davious White and Vernon Davis needs a breather. So that's a good pick for them, I believe. They could have picked a receiver there, but I'm fine with them picking the cornerbacks because, like I said, they need they need depth at the cornerback position, because if either one of their two starting quarterback goes down, then um, then that wouldn't be good. So it's good that they got two cornerbacks in the um, in the middle of the draft. Now for their last pick, no, actually they had one more fifth round pick, and that was Wyatt Teller, and he could really, later in the season, he really could uh, get a starting job. I think he'll work at second team for the start, especially now. But he's actually a really impressive guy. He's strong, and um, he has good initial quickness, and he's really he is good. And I think he could, especially if someone gets injured later in the year. He is a guard. I think the Bills need improvement in that area, especially after Richie Incognito left. I think he could really be. Um, he could really be a good backup and eventually starter for the Bills, because their offensive line will be tested this year without Eric Wood and Richie Incognito. That could pose a problem, and the Bills got one offensive lineman in the draft, which was him, and which will provide some good depth. So we'll see where this pick goes, but this could actually be a really good pick by the Bills, especially where they got him in the fifth round. And so the Bills rounded out their draft with two receivers in Ray McCloud and Austin Prohl. And for Ray, interesting name, he he's a good gadget player, which means he could run end arounds. And I think for the start of his career, the Bills need a punt returner, and I think he's a really good punt returner. He has great speed and inconsistent hands, but I think he can really juke some people out and really be a good punt returner. I think the Bills need improvement in that area. I was never impressed with Brandon Tate as a punt returner. He had some good returns, but he never really returned one for touchdowns, I don't believe. I may be wrong in that. So, I see him as a punt returner for this team. And if he doesn't get the punt return job, I think he'll go to the practice squad. And then Austin Prohl is interesting because in minicamp, he's the son of Ricky Prohl, who played with the Rams and Panthers for the longest time, and he's actually a really good catcher. He's a good route runner, and he had a good connection with Josh Allen in the minicamp this year, and that could be a good focus and moving forward, especially into training camp. Really get the job? I don't believe so. I think he'll also be a candidate for the practice squad, but if he has good chemistry with Josh Allen, I would say keep him. I mean he needs as much um, uh, uh, connection and confidence as possible as Josh Allen starts his NFL career, and having a receiver that he's working with could be useful. So that rounds out the Bills 2017 draft, and really what I think, it's an eye on the future. I think a lot of these, especially within the four, the three players picked in the first 3 rounds, I think could play solid roles for years to come for the Bills. With Josh Allen, hopefully, I think he'll become a good quarterback in the NFL, and Jermaine Evans, who will be, I think, a star in the league, and Harrison Phillips, who will be, I think, will replace Kyle Williams really well in Buffalo. So I think he'll be great, and I think this draft could be useful for the Bills down the road. It could help. Some could help this season, but I think um, uh, this draft could be useful. So that's all the time I have. I appreciate if you have comments, leave them to me down below or subscribe to me because I'm going to be talking about the Bills this season as I want to see them hopefully improve from this season after making the playoffs after 17 years last season. So that's all I got. And I am Pat, the Buffalo Bill guy, Carosa, and I'll see you next week. Bye.